Well, if we're gonna find any ghosts, we better split up.
You're listening to Never Split Up, a horror movie podcast.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Never Split Up podcast. This is episode 59, and we have a good one for you, a very special episode. We are covering Halloween, of course, released in 2018. We covered the original Halloween last Halloween season, so we are now covering the requel released in 2018, directed by David Gordon Green. How you doing today, Ant? What's going on?
I'm doing awesome. It's always a sweet spot when we talk about Halloween and Scream, so this is home for us, so I'm very excited to tackle this one.
Yeah, me too. As we touched on in previous episodes, there was, a little debate amongst ourselves, because Ant likes to go in chronological order for these franchises, like in release order, but I convinced him to start with the David Gordon Green trilogy because it's its own timeline. We can always go back and do the other timelines, but I really thought that it would be fun to kind of start with this timeline just because it's a little more fresh, a little bit more new in people's minds. People still talk about these movies online and stuff. So, and me personally, I can't wait to get to Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills because we feel differently about these movies, those movies, I should say. But we're starting with 2018. I would say the least controversial movie of the three. Would you agree, Ant?
Yeah. I 100% agree. It's the most back to basics to the OG Halloween, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but the most safe of the David Gordon Green trilogy. So
that's
I think
definitely
that's why it
fair.
has, yeah. So it has the least amount of divisiveness, I will say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's for sure. I feel like David Gordon Green, as he was making this trilogy, he made Halloween Kills. He saw the response, and he's like, "Oh, you want to see divisive? Here you go, Halloween Ends," and he throws out Halloween Ends and. We'll get to that when we get to that, though. But for now, we're talking about the 2018 version. Let's cover the cast and crew. Before we do that, I do want to announce that I finally won a Never Split Up poll. It's been a few episodes now, so that's exciting. So thanks, everyone, for voting. We posted the poll for the Salem's Lot remake, the 2024 Salem's Lot episode. We posted that poll, and we got a good response, and I came out on top, so I will get to go first for our Never Split Up moments, which I'm excited for. But for now, let's dive into the movie. Is there anything you wanted to touch base with the podcast itself before we cover the movie?
No, I really appreciate you guys showing up for our spooky coverage. We've done really well. Both Salem's Lot episodes killed it. We just released Saw 2. Make sure you guys go give that one some love. And now we're in the thick of it. Our next 3 episodes are like big October Halloween bangers, so I'm very excited. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely have a feast for you guys. We just covered Saw 2, which is a beloved sequel. We got Halloween, which is a fan favorite, and then our 2 episodes next week, which are, we can just, say them again. We have back-to-back episodes being released on Tuesday and Thursday, the week of Halloween. On the 29th is going to be our top 10 horror movies of the 2010s, so that's going to be really special for us. We grew up in the early 2000s and the 2010s. We were young adults, so those were kind of our formative / adult years, beginning adult years of horror. So I know it's very special to me. I can't wait to see your list. And then on Halloween, we're releasing Trick or Treat. And that's going to be fun. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know how special that movie is to Anthony in particular. So that's going to be fun. And that's just a fun episode to throw on Halloween. I always try to watch that movie on Halloween, as well as the original, Halloween 1978. Those are like my 2 staples on the holiday. So that's going to be a real fun listen when we drop that. But for now, let's get into Halloween 2018. Let's cover the cast and whatnot. I'll let you do that.
All right. You guys know the story. It's Laurie Strode, Michael Myers, 40 years later. You don't need anything else besides that. Fucking epicness. It was directed by David Gordon Green. It was written by David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, and Jeff Bradley. And the cast, I mean, we have obviously the Scream Queen, Jamie Lee Curtis, reprising her role as Laurie Strode. We have Judy Greer playing Karen, I think it's Andy Matichak, you're supposed to pronounce it, but I say Andy Matichak, but whatever. Andy Matichak as Allison, James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers, and then we have Will Patton's in it, Officer Hawkins. Any of you remember the Titans fans? We get Will Patton in this. And we have a shit ton of supporting characters, pretty much the victims in the movie. And yeah, it was released in 2018, 40 years after the original. It is the highest grossing slasher movie of all time. It was made for $10 million and it made about $260 million worldwide. So huge, huge, huge success. I don't know about you, Nolan, but I remember the lead up to this. It was like marketing explosion everywhere, like Halloween's back, Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis. I remember it was announced in 2017, like my birthday weekend, that she was coming back, and I almost fucking had a heart attack. I'm like, this is amazing. Jamie Lee Curtis, I never thought she would come back to the Halloween franchise. And then just, the marketing machine, like, building up the hype was, like, next level. I remember going the preview night with you, and I'm like, oh my god, this chills, this is crazy. I went, like, 3 times over opening weekend. I brought my parents the next day to see it. They're big Halloween people. It was just a big, big, big event. Probably one of the biggest theater events I've had, and I loved every minute of it.
Like you said, the return of Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, as longtime Halloween fans, we know kind of the falling out she had with the Halloween franchise, and more particularly, the movie studios involved. And after Resurrection, she, it left on a sour note. So when that was announced, it was a big, big, big deal, as all of you who are Halloween fans probably remember. I can't believe it's been, 7 years now since that was released. I mean, it's crazy. It feels like yesterday. But yes, they did market the hell out of it, but it would have made money regardless, because Jamie Lee Curtis returning to fight Michael, Laurie Strode. I mean, the redemption of that character because of what happened in the previous installment with her. I mean, it was just ticketed so brilliantly, and we'll get into it. I mean, I think it delivered. Like I said, it was the least controversial. I haven't fact checked this, but I would assume it has the best like critic ratings and stuff, Rotten Tomato ratings for sure. I think they're pretty high. I think I have it here.
Yeah, it's certified fresh.
70,
I mean, not that I care.
Yeah, not that I care, but
or whatever.
It's a good metric to look and see how kind of. I don't take it to heart. Obviously, being horror fans, I mean, we never, get authentic horror reviewers reviewing these movies. I wish we did. I wish they had their own section, but it's cool to see like when there's a general consensus, especially when it's positive around horror. That means that, it's made really well and it's done really well. So that's cool to see. But yeah, let's get into our overall thoughts. I guess I will start first.
Okay.
We both recommend this movie. I mean, it's a Halloween movie, for Christ's sake. Like, there's only maybe a couple Halloween movies that I could say are borderline not recommends, but it's definitely not this one. I adore this movie so much. You mentioned we and I've said this before, we went and saw it at the Thursday night preview, which was, I'll never forget it, seeing Michael back on the big screen, seeing Jamie Lee Curtis reprise her role for the first time. It was a bit overwhelming, for sure, but I am so thankful for David Gordon Green for reviving this franchise and kind of, like you said, it's the highest grossing, not just horror Halloween movie, but slasher of all time, for putting Michael back on the big screen, front and center, reminding everyone that Michael Myers is king and that he will be king forever in my eyes. And like you said, it's a back to basics movie. It's not a perfect movie. I will get into a couple different little gripes I have with little nitpicks, but overall, there's not much to fault. I mean, it's so well done. And I remember the lead up to this movie, hearing Jamie Lee Curtis talk about the direction that it was going and the franchise as a whole and why she returned, and her talking about how much care and attention David Gordon Green in particular put into this project because he is a lover of Halloween, the franchise. and how she read the script, and that's what convinced her after she met with him and after she read the script to return, because she knew that it was going to be done right and her character was going to do justice. I believe I believe, wasn't she kind of like a producer for this trilogy as well, like a pseudo producer?
She was an executive producer on all three movies, along with John Carpenter. So
yes, that was my next point. John Carpenter is back working with his son or grandson. It's his son, right?
I believe it's his son, and I'm not sure how it's John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel Davies did the score. I'm not sure the relationship to Daniel Davies, but they obviously killed it with this fucking score for the entire trilogy.
Killed it for the entire trilogy. My favorite, this might be my favorite score of the three. I don't know. I flip-flop a lot, but it totally killed it. I mean, yeah. But it's just such a special movie for me. It's kind of marked the return of this franchise, and I will always hold it near and dear to my heart. I can't wait to get into kind of the details and the nitty-gritty, but I'll let you go first, your overall thoughts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Halloween's my baby. It's so important to me. My favorite movie of all time is the 1978 original. So when I found out about this, I'm like, holy shit. They're bringing it back, not following any of the sequels. It's just literally back to basics, back to the OG. I was a little bit hesitant that they weren't including. I remember I was like kind of like, oh, why aren't they not including Halloween 2, 1981? I'm like, god damn it, second best in the franchise. But I get that they wanted to do something different than the brother-sister angle, so I was kind of going in a little hesitant about that part, like how is it going to be connected? But, I went in, I friggin' love this movie. It's just going back to what made Halloween special. It's like not worried about all the crazy convoluted mess that came later, which I love. I still love the convoluted mess, but it's just back to Michael going around stalking and killing victims, and the ultimate good Laurie versus the ultimate evil Michael. That's all you need. For some reason, those two characters work so well together, for better or worse. And the score, they got everything right. From the score, the look of Michael Myers. I didn't bring up, and I should have. Christopher Nelson just has a huge credit for the entire franchise. He did the makeup effects and all the visual effects, and he got Michael Myers masked down pat. He looks scary again. I mean, James Jude Courtney will get into everything, but he is the perfect Michael Myers. He's so good. Jamie Lee Curtis, she is Laurie Strode. There's no other way around it. She just steps back into that role like effortlessly. She's so damn good. I can't wait to get into certain scenes. But yeah, this is just what I think of Halloween. This is what I think of when I want a Halloween movie. It's just Michael stalking Haddonfield. I do have a couple nitpicks too. We'll get into it. I think there's not slight pacing issues, but I wanted more stalking and chase scenes, and we don't really have many chase scenes in this movie. And there's a couple other, maybe too many over-the-top humorous scenes here and there, and maybe one or two too many homages. But other than that, I mean, this movie it was my number 5 in our ranking. Guys, go check that out. So this is my number 5, my 5th favorite Halloween movie, which is really, really awesome. It's in my top 5. I love it so much. I mean, I remember this was a party, and my family, they love Halloween as well, specifically the Halloween installments with Jamie Lee Curtis. So when they found out she was from it, like, oh my god, the franchise is back. So this was just so special. I'll always look fondly back on this when it came out, and now I'm happy that we have a new trilogy. And I always I pop this one on like numerous times throughout the year. It's so damn good. And I mean, John Carpenter, there's just no one who does a score like John Carpenter in a horror movie, and it's fucking perfection. So yeah, I was satisfied with it. I loved it. I loved the battle at the end with Michael and Laurie. Couple nitpicks here and there, but overall, this is a banger of a Halloween movie, and I'm so happy that it kicked off the trend of bringing slashers back in the 2020s.
Yeah, and this was really the first major quote-unquote requel, correct? This kind of kicked that off?
I would say within the horror genre, like, you had Star Wars and all that shit, but this kind of, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, Star Wars never had a requel. That was more of just like a direct sequel, so I wouldn't call that a requel.
Yeah, well, yeah, requel isn't like ignoring, but yeah, it brought back, like, the Legacy sequel, I would say. Like
Legacy sequel, yeah, that's, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, it's I'm just kind of trying to rack my brain. I'm pretty sure that was kind of the first to do it, where it was like ignoring other stuff, like, because then you have,
I mean, you have H2O did the requel before requel was cool, if you think about it.
What did? I'm sorry.
Halloween H2O technically did it before it was like in.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I was
but...
just talking about like this current. Trends,
yeah. The current trend,
that
yeah, for
Scream
sure.
talked about, and we saw Texas Chainsaw was kind of like a requel with that. So there was a few that came out, but yeah, I kind of think we feel very similar about this. I think our Nick picks are going to be very similar. Again, praises to John Carpenter. I really think that the score to this movie feels connected to the original, but is brought to a modern kind of, and has a little bit more synthesization and stuff. I think he blended the classic feel with the modern elements beautifully. And the whole trilogy, really, but especially this movie being the first one to kick it off. I mean, I remember, I have a terrible memory, so it takes me a few watches to really let a movie sink in, but I remember vividly sitting in the theater the first night with you and hearing the score on some of these sequences, and I was just like, my head was pressed against the back of the seat, and I was just like, this is fucking epic. This is so cool. And yeah, so I also wanted to touch on something else you said, the humor. I actually appreciate the humor. I think it works for me. I understand why it's a little over the top for you, but again...
There's one scene that's too much.
I think it kind of makes it stand out enough and brings it into that kind of modern audience and helps it in that regard. So I understand why they had, like, I'm sure a lot of that is from Danny McBride, was a main writer.
Yeah, there's a couple too.
And guys, we are talking about the Danny McBride, if you didn't know, like the comedian. He wrote Halloween, so you could definitely see his influence on these movies. And I think it was a good choice. I think that the humor works for me. I'm curious to hear what the one scene was for you, because I don't really think it was overdone at all. That's one of the things that I actually really appreciate about this movie. Watching the original, there is hardly any humor, and if it's unintentional if it is, and then going from that to this, it's kind of, seeing a little levity is kind of a nice break from the tension, and I kind of like it. So okay, let's dive right in. What did you think of the opening? I personally have grown to really, really, really love this opening sequence. What about you?
I'm obsessed with the opening sequence. It gives me chills every time. The investigative journalists, when they go to see Michael Myers, we're introduced to the, I don't know, we'll get to Sartain, but we're introduced to Dr. Sartain. He's Michael's new caregiver doctor, it's like whatever you want to call him. I just love the shot when they go to Smith's Grove and he's just standing outside. It's almost like it's some trippy shit. He's like in the square. I love the slow buildup of the tension and the music, and the other mental patients are there, like kind of a throwback to the OG when he's walking around the other mental patients. And we'll get another throwback to that later in the movie, but I don't know. I love the buildup when the dog starts barking and then they all start freaking out. And then I just love when Aaron is just like shows in the mask and just yelling, say something. And then it just like, boom, the Halloween title card and this theme starts. I'm like, oh, I get chills every time. I love it. I think it's effective. I think it's well done. I love the credits match the OG credits, and I love that the pumpkin in the credit scene is coming back to life, just like the franchise is rising up again and coming back to life. I think it's it's a pretty perfect opening, and it gets me pumped every fucking time.
I agree. I love the pumpkin as well. I thought that's an awesome thing they included in the credits. But yeah, just talking about the opening sequence, seeing that, and I'm going to talk a lot about seeing this movie for the first time with you in theaters because it was such a special moment. But getting Michael, the side shot of Michael without the mask, like right away, you're like, oh shit, they're going there. And then, the tension's building, guys are yelling, the dog's barking. They keep cutting back to Michael. You see the back, like, quarter panel of his head. You're not quite sure, like, holy shit, is he going to turn around? Are we going to see Michael? And I'm praying that we don't, by the way. I'm saying, like, please don't show us his full face, because that would just kind of kick this trilogy off in the wrong direction for me. But it was done so beautifully. And by the time the title drop card hits, it was like needed. It was like, oh my God, I could breathe for a second. Okay, here we go. Now we're getting into it. It's such a good way to start off that movie with the amount of buildup it had to kind of cut right to Michael and show him kind of where he's at. Not only is it good to bring people up to speed because this is now a new timeline, we can kind of see what's going on. We get a little bit of exposition with the doctor and stuff, but it's a great visual for people to see kind of his state, like what he's doing, and then to go right to the title card. I thought was a brilliant move to kind of kick it off, and I just love it so much. Every time I watch it, I just appreciate it even more and more.
It's so fucking good that when he screams, say something, it just goes to Halloween. I'm like, oh my god, it gets me every time. And I also like what you said, that we technically see Michael, but we don't. His face is never in focus, and obviously to me that's very important, especially when we're just bringing it back for the first time in 40 years. I would give it a pass in like kills and ends more than I would in 2018 if that happened, but I love how they just, you see his face, little glimpse, but you don't see it fully. I think that David Gordon Green like had that shot really well and directed those scenes perfectly, that we see him but we don't. So I was nervous about that too, but they handled it very well.
Oh, agreed. And then we get our big reveal. We got
our girl.
We find our girl for the first time in 40 years again in this new timeline. We can't wait to see, you know, we've seen the trailers and stuff, so we kind of knew what kind of character she was going to be played as, you know, kind of a survivalist, if you will. You know, I believe in the trailers she's shooting the mannequins, the one scene where she's shooting the mannequins, so she knows she's locked and loaded. But why don't you take us through this scene and what you liked about this scene? Because I know you liked this scene as well, because I loved it.
I did. I mean, I always love when we're introduced to our final girls in our movies, and Laurie Strode is literally my second favorite character of all time, so this was a huge deal for me. I thought it was fitting, obviously, that after the investigative journalist went to see Michael, they would obviously go see the opposite Laurie. I thought it was funny how she refused to open the gate until she was like, yo, how's $3,000 sound? I thought it cracks me up every time that the gate just starts opening. I was like, of course. Laurie's at home. She's probably living off, like, I don't know, welfare or something, because she's so scared to do anything. So, I mean, she could use the money. But I love that she has, like, you know, her house is all barrack. You see she has, like, 18,000 locks on her doors, which is, again, as she should. I just think the look, you know, she gets the hair, she looks like Jamie Lee Curtis, but she looks like Laurie Strode. That's one thing I'll give 2018 over H2O is like, oh yeah, you know, that's Jamie Lee Curtis, the short hair, but this, they like put effort to have her look like Laurie Strode. Not saying she couldn't change her hair, but it just feels more like, I don't know, it feels more like the character. So I like that. I like how she's standoffish. I like that we find out like some exposition about the past 40 years, but it doesn't get like overloaded. Like, obviously she had a daughter. Her daughter was taken away from her at 12. She's had 2 failed marriages, but it's not like an exposition dump. We just get little tidbits into what she was dealing with over the last 40 years after the trauma. And then I like how she pretty much, when they start to just like bug her about Michael, like, come see him, like, we think he'll speak to you, because obviously these people, for some reason, all these people just want to hear him speak. So I like that once they start kind of like taunting her about like her relationship with her daughter and stuff, and like saying, oh, Michael wants to talk to you, she's pretty much like, all right, time's up, motherfuckers, pay me and get out. So that kind of gave us like the clue into how her like attitude and how her personality is. So I thought it was a great introduction. Obviously, like Jamie Lee Curtis right away, like, she's just a force of nature, and she is Laurie Strode, so I just felt her energy immediately. So I thought it was a great reintroduction to her character as well.
Watching the original and then watching this back to back is really kind of jarring to see Laurie go from that teenager who survived these attacks to now 40 years later, she's this hardened woman who doesn't take any shit. You know, this is not the same Laurie, and it really drives home how that night in 1978, you know, changed her life completely. You know, like you said, she mentions that she had a couple marriages and they ended up failing, and, you know, she had her daughter taken away. But I agree, man. I thought it was a perfect introduction. The thing I want to highlight about this scene that I love the most is knowing the trilogy now and what we have. I love that David Gordon Green decided to right off the bat highlight through the characters, because this is also what we're thinking in the audience, that Laurie is special and that Michael and Laurie are somehow tethered together and connected together. I love how they kind of planted that right away with the journalist kind of saying, you know, do you want to meet him? Do you want to go? He's being moved. He's being transferred tomorrow, whatever. Like, this is your last chance to see him. And Lori's like, why for, I love her reaction to that. Like, why the fuck would I, like,
I
the
love how
look
she name
gives
drops.
him.
She's like, yeah, I know. He's being transferred at blah, blah, blah o'clock. Like,
yeah.
She knows her shit.
Her facial acting in this scene is one of the best, I think. I think her just look of disgust, like I'm here, you guys are here because of the money, but I want you to get the fuck out of my house as soon as possible. Like, she's not putting up with any of it.
Right. I love how, I forget the exact line, but I just love how she's like, Michael Myers is a murderer and we need to understand him, and I'm divorced and I'm a basket case. Or like, it's like come on, like, you guys are fucking ridiculous. And we should just bring this up now because of the talk online. I think that I don't think it's extreme for Laurie Strode to be acting like this 40 years later. I know a lot of people have problems with, like, oh, she's acting like this crazy because she just got slashed in the arm and attacked and almost strangled and all of her friends died. Like, first of all, that's a fucking lot to go through. Like, who the fuck are you to say that a woman can't, like, be traumatized for the rest of her life after going through that experience as a kid? She was still a kid. She was 17 years old. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is still why I do think that H2O to me is a tad more realistic. I think this is still based in reality. I can see how someone would go into that mentality of doomsday prep and being scared to leave and trying to be overprotective of their daughter, like to the detriment and having her daughter literally taken away from her. I think that someone who was attacked and her friends died and she had to fight for her life and for 2 kids' lives 40 years ago, I don't understand that argument. So I'll get that out of the way right now, that I'm not on team like she's overreacting. I'm on team like this is something that could really happen, and I support their decision to make her come off as this, especially in 2018. So I have no problem with how she is in this movie.
I never understood that criticism at all. I mean, you see it all the time in real life. You see things happen to young people in particular who have their whole lives ahead of them. Like Laurie did, like she was a straight A student, and I'm sure she would have done well for herself, and then something happens in their lives and it just completely derails what their life would have been. And I think this is completely accurate, and I love that you brought up H2O. I think they're both accurate, and I love that we now have 2 different versions of Laurie Strode. And we've said this term before, it's kind of like a pick your own adventure, but it kind of highlights 2 different responses with the same character. So it's a really good kind of case study on Laurie Strode and 2 different versions of how her life could have been thrown into orbit, or she could have, like in 2018, or she could have kind of wrangled it in and moved on and tried to. But she had issues in H2O too that she didn't come to terms with.
Exactly.
It's not like she was all, people. I feel like people romanticize that version of Laurie, like she had a great head on her shoulders, and she had this son and stuff. But like, no, she
still had
repressed
issues,
that stuff, and that's why she was able to become headmistress and all that. So I just think it's beautiful that we have the 2 different responses, and they're so very different, but they're also so accurate to how someone could really react to what happened when they were 17. I think it's awesome.
Oh, good. I'm happy that we're on the same page as that. And obviously, this is a Laurie that didn't go about getting help or do anything in the right way. She obviously turned to extremism, alcohol, not making great choices. And this obviously also had a hand in it, whereas, we won't talk about it too much, but even after in this a couple years later and ends, she like realized that all of that prep didn't really do her any good. She still lost mostly everybody. So she took the time in those 4 years between kills and ends to actually get the right help. So that's a different version of how Laurie progressed. But this Laurie, obviously, the whole 40 years, she was. I imagine that she was like going into bars every Halloween, like, oh my god, he's like causing havoc in the town. Like that's what I kind of imagine this Laurie did, and that's a Laurie who didn't get help. So I will never understand that criticism. It drives me crazy every time I see online that it's not realistic. I'm like, who are you to say how someone reacts to something like that? So I never get that at all. But yeah, I'm happy we're on the same page.
And not only is she paranoid about Michael returning, she's also taking the offensive as well. I mean, you see she's got the guns and stuff later on in the movie, and the very fact that she did, because many people will say, well, why didn't she just leave Haddonfield? Why even stay in the town if you're that paranoid?
But that's also a trauma response right there.
It's a trauma response, and it's, she wants to stay because she knows that he's going to get released. One way or another, he's going to escape because she really feels that. And she wants to be the one to end it because she feels connected to him and she feels responsible in a way which is totally not fair to herself because, of course, she's not responsible. She's just a survivor, but she wants to take the fight to Michael. And you see that as soon as he escapes the prison in this movie, she goes to Karen's house and she's like, let's go. We got to hunt this guy. This is what we've all been waiting for. This is why I trained you. So, okay, let's get to Karen. Let's get to her house and let's get to that wholesome family. And we'll talk about them.
Peanut butter on my penis.
Yeah, that was
Jesus Christ.
That was the first line that we really were like, okay, we're in it with Danny McBride. Yeah. I was like, okay, it's gonna be that kind of levity for sure. But Allison, let's talk about Allison. Our introduction to our new kind of young final girl, if you will. We have the 3 different generations. I really adore Karen too. I don't know how you feel about Karen as a whole, but I love how we have the 3 generations. And Allison is instantly catapulted to one of my favorite final girls after this movie, and especially after Kills. I think she's a great character that was introduced. And I think Andy, I don't know how you say her name. What did you say?
I say Matichek.
Okay, I've never heard that before. I've always said Matichek, but
yeah,
okay,
I think she corrected someone in an interview once. I'm like, okay.
Oh, jeez. Okay, Matichek. I thought she does a great job, and I really adore this wholesome family. What's the dad's name is?
Oh, Ray.
Ray. That's right. Correct. Ray.
Good old Ray. I think his name is Toby Huss. He was in another horror movie, The Rental, that he was had a couple scenes in. But yeah, I mean Judy Greer, I love her as an actress. I love her so much. She's always brings her game to the table when she gets in these movies, and I appreciate her being in it. I mean Karen, and to me in 2018, I mean no offense, but Karen is a Karen for a lot of the movie. And
oh, really? So you feel that way? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that I don't like the way that she like dismisses Laurie. Like for the first, I get it. She was put through the ringer as a kid, but it's also like, stop treating your mother like that. Like she's like really just puts her down every chance she get. Even to the point of in the first scene we have with her, she's lying to Allison about like, oh yeah, I invited her to your dinner, which Allison caught her in the lie because Allison already spoke to Laurie. I love how, first of all, I love how Allison called Laurie grandmother. It cracks me up. Grandmother.
Yeah.
But as far as Andy Matichek goes, I really adore her. I think that it was smart that the filmmakers chose to give us 3 generations, and we have Allison and we have Karen, but it's known that this is still Laurie's movie, so it's not like a handoff. It's just they're part of her family, so we're seeing the other generation. That's never like, okay, see ya, Laurie, like it's gonna focus on them. It's just they're just part of her story, really. So they just add to her journey. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, I think the 2 actresses were great. Obviously, I think that Allison has a little more to do and is a little obviously more sympathetic than Karen in this one because of how Karen treats Laurie. But by the finale, I obviously fall in love with Karen. She has like, I remember in the theater, like when she had her moment, everyone was like fucking clapping. Like that was like an all-timer, like fuck yeah. So I love Karen at the end, and I obviously do appreciate Karen the most in Kills for obvious reasons. But yeah, I thought both actresses did great. Maybe a little more tweaks to Karen in the first half of the movie would have been good, because to the point where, well, we'll jump around, but she has one scene where, first of all, Laurie cracks me up when she pretty much breaks into their house, like after she finds out that Michael escaped, and we see that there's the podcasters are killed. Yeah. She's like, yeah, she was like, you're dead. With a gun. I'm like, I fucking love you, Laurie. But Karen has a line, she's like, you need to go. Like, the world is full of great people. It's not full of evil. I'm like, are you fucking... Even Laurie was like, yeah, okay, bitch. Like, the world is fucking evil, girl. Like, where's your reality? She's not living in reality. So that's my only complaint about Karen, but I think the actresses for both characters are fantastic.
Okay, yeah, that's disappointing for me to hear that from you, that you kind of, the first half of the movie, you don't love Karen. All I'll say is, without getting like too personal, if you've dealt with, and I've dealt with this, toxic family members and stuff, growing up and stuff, all I'll say is I think it was a pretty accurate portrayal of a child that grew up in an environment like that, and her feelings towards her mother, and they're still very raw, and it's pretty obvious they never worked through them. They never went to therapy together or anything.
Right,
so I think it really hit home for me because it's kind of personal to me. So I think it was pretty valid, just like Laurie Strode's character is valid. I think Karen's actions and words towards her mother, while on the surface, you know, we all love Laurie Strode and we're all saying, you know, how could you say that about your mother? You know, it's your mother. But when you dig a little deeper, you can kind of understand like where she's coming from. So I think she's valid just as much as Laurie is valid. And again, the third layer, Allison, I think Allison is very valid too, because, you know, she didn't grow up in the trenches like Karen. And, you know,
so
Karen,
she's like Team Laurie. Right.
Exactly. Well, Karen kind of shows her at the end of the movie what that all was when they get to the house, because I guess she never has been to her grandmother's house, and that's probably why she calls her grandmother and not, you know, a nan or a nanny. Because
I guess it's also another, like, shows the straight, like, it's not like the perfect family, like, it's not like like, you know, my grandma, it's like grandmother, like, I love my grandmother, but she's not like part of the family like I want her to be. I always like took it in that way. I don't know.
Yeah, she's not close with her at all. I mean, she has a relationship now that she's older, but I get a sense that she was totally isolated from her grandmother when she was growing up. Because of her mother, Karen. So I think all three play, I think more than anything, well, especially because ends, we don't get Karen, but more than kills, this movie balances those three characters and the feelings that they have pent up and everything so beautifully. And I think I touched on this when we were talking about our rankings, how they kind of balance each character, and each character is very believable for their circumstance. I think that's one of the strengths of this movie. And like you said, they're not taking over the story. They're a part of now Laurie's story. They're just new elements and new layers into the story of Laurie Strode, and I think it was definitely played beautifully.
Yeah, I think they picked the right actresses for the role, and I'm happy that you know, they all three of them got to partake in kills and well. And I mean, we'll get to ends, but I think that it was the right choice on who they decided to take out to have the impact that it had to have with both of those characters. And as far as Ray, obviously he's the dad, but he's a throwaway character. You know, he has a couple funny lines here and there, but he really is he's just there.
It's about the women. It's about the three generations of women for sure.
Exactly. And then because the only other notable people in Allison's life is her friend group. Vicky, who Virginia Gardner plays Vicky. I think she's fantastic. The blonde baby.
Yes.
I love her. I have a soft spot for her in this movie. I think she's a scene stealer. And then we have Dylan Arnold plays Cameron, who's her boyfriend, and Oscar is Drew Scheid. So that's her little like friend group. And then Dave is Vicky's boyfriend, Miles Robbins. So that's our little friend group. But I do think they all do well. But I just think something about Virginia Gardner. She's just like, she's amazing. I think she kills it.
Yeah, she does kill it. Yeah, she's got an infectious personality on screen. I think she did a good job. And she's definitely Laurie's one friend in this movie that isn't like a piece of shit. So,
oh yeah, no,
yeah. I mean, we get the boyfriend Cameron, and we get the other dude. What's his name? Oscar. We get Oscar.
Yep.
He's another icky friend. So, I mean, Cameron, dude. I always forget how much of a fucking douchebag Cameron is, and then he just goes away. We don't really see him at all the rest of the movie, and then until Kills, because he pops up right at the beginning of Kills, so it's kind of blends together sometimes for me, and I forget that we kind of toss him aside for the rest of the movie, but he is a fucking.
You wouldn't be a dick if he just owned up to the one bad thing he did. Like he was a dick. Like he wasn't a dick until he was a dick. Like I think people give him like really harsh, but he did one obviously really bad thing, but dude just owned that shit. He made it worse after that moment. I feel like. With the whole
tossing the phone and stuff. Yeah, it was like, dude, what the fuck? You
pretty
got
much
caught.
Gaslighting her. He's like, no, she was whispering in my ear. Like, dude, just fucking say someone kissed you. Like that would have been way less harmful to her. I feel like. Just own up to that shit.
And apparently he was supposed to be pretty drunk because she says, "How much did you drink?" But
like have some discretion. He like fucking says that.
Not to knock the actor, but I feel like he could have played that a little bit better to kind of get the sense that he was kind of hammered. And that's why he was gaslighting her and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Cameron.
I mean, not to get too far, but I thought he was really good in Kills.
I do too. Yeah, we'll obviously touch on that when we get to it. But I thought he had a good kind of kind of redemption arc in a way. I mean, he's definitely a more sympathetic character in Kills. I mean, he's really there for Allison, and he stands by her. And his dad Lonnie, I love Lonnie so much.
But yeah, Vicky's my girl, and
it's funny. I just the side note. I just rewatched Doctor Sleep again. I always forget the actor who plays Lonnie is in that movie. He's part of the whole group. It's always fun seeing
I
him.
love that movie.
Yeah.
So let's get into when Michael escapes, the whole escape scene, the homage to the opening.
The homage to the opening. And I just want to say, and we can talk about it now, some of the shots in this movie, really the whole trilogy, but the cinematography and the direction of some of these shots, one of my favorite shots in the whole franchise happens during this sequence, and it's when Laurie is in her car, you know, breaking down outside the prison. It's so beautifully shot, and then you get the final quick shot of the silhouette of Michael kind of coming towards her in the car, and it's just so well done, and it's so beautiful, and you kind of really get a sense of what she's going through and what her mind is trying to process.
I'm happy you brought up that scene before we get to this one, because it's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, even though it's not a horror scene. It's just a Laurie scene. And she kills it, like Jamie Lee Curtis. I almost got like teary-eyed the first time I watched it. Like her emotion, and first of all, that's Jamie Lee Curtis is the scream queen for a reason. She has a scream in that scene, and she hasn't lost her charm with screaming.
Yeah.
But a little side note, when they were filming that, and she's like, this is what you see, she's obviously struggling. She's like chugging like airplane bottles and everything in there. But I just think that silhouette of Michael like walking up to her and her screaming is so fucking good. But a little side note, when they were filming that scene, I don't know if she was anxious or whatever, like the crew was like supporting her. So like outside they all had signs like, "We are Laurie," or like, "We support Laurie." So like that was like her like motivation going into that scene and filming. I thought it was pretty cool side note. But yeah, I think that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and it has nothing to do with any horror. It's just like the impact that all this is having on Laurie, like watching Michael fucking leave her pretty much out into the open, like leave, like she's not protected, like her family's not protected anymore. She's watching the evil get out and drive away. I thought she fucking killed it in that scene. It's so good. The little character moments are what gets me in these movies, as you know, and that's like one of the all-timer ones.
Oh, it's so good. And the score on top of it, again, we can just sing praises to John Carpenter and the team behind the score. But yeah, real quick, I want to go back because you touched on this in your overall thoughts. The scene with Allison in the school, and we kind of get the homage to the original with Laurie outside the school window. What did you think about that? What did you think of kind of like the homages in general? I thought this one in particular was kind of cool. I kind of liked it. I don't know if you liked it, but I thought it was.
I kind of like the same vibe. Like when I saw, like, because my family, again, we know the original by heart. So when like I brought them to see it, I didn't know the first time I watched it. I'm kind of like, ha, cute. Yeah. Like, you know, like that's kind of actually how I feel about it. It's like I like gotta laugh, like a chuckle, like ha. Yeah. It's not Michael, it's Laurie, because Laurie's the one looking after Allison. It's not Michael looking like not looking out for Laurie, but Michael stalking her. But in this one, it's all about Laurie watching and Laurie doing the hunting. Like she's hunting Michael in the end. So I thought it was like cute. But again, I'm like, ha, cute. And then when I brought my family to see it, they laughed. Like it was a good laugh. Like that's a good ha. Like throwback to the original. I think it's a little bit more like a little bit too like wink wink. But I mean it's cute, it's harmless, it's not my favorite, but it's fine. The homages overall though, I think like the one we're gonna get to, the escape scene, I like a lot.
Okay.
There's certain homages I like. Like I love my favorite homage, I don't want to jump around too much, but it's probably when Michael and Laurie are fighting and then he throws her off the roof. And then when he looks back, she's gone. I'm like, fuck, that got me fucking.
That got me pumped.
Fuck, yes,
the whole theater was.
Yes,
yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's my favorite homage. Like, I'm like, yes, bitch. But
that is probably the corniest one, but it works the best for some reason.
It's the best one. I don't care. I think the one in the school might be a little cornier in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually like it.
I like him. Yeah.
Sorry, not just while we're on the school scene, not to go too deep and too layered, but I kind of like what they did. It is like a kind of cute haha moment, but I like the fact that Laurie is kind of the boogeyman in Allison's story up to this point, and how Karen has kind of vilified her grandmother. So, you know, we get the scene where she doesn't invite her to the dinner and stuff, and Allison finds out. So Allison seeing Laurie outside of her window, that like she kind of is like a representation of the boogeyman in a sense. So I kind of like that, you know, connection. So I don't really mind it too much.
Yeah, it's like all the stories that Karen has told Allison is like building up that legend of Laurie, like Laurie in her head. So it's funny when I get that.
Yeah.
But My least favorite, like that, my least favorite, like, I don't, it's so small, but my least favorite, like, homage callback is when Lori's in the restaurant and she's like, I saw the shape. I'm like, you saw the shape. Like, why are you calling him the shape? You saw Michael, you saw the boogeyman. You would never say the shape. It's just because the shape is how he was credited in the original. So it kind of doesn't make sense to me that she says the shape. Like, no one in the original ever said the shape, or like that's never been mentioned by anyone but the credits. So I kind of like, that's pretty much too much of a wink wink to me. Again, it's only like my nerdy, like Halloween's my favorite thing of all time thing is like why are they saying that? But other than that, the homages are great, but I do think a couple of them go overboard. But overall, they're fine. That one just gets me. I'm like, why is she calling him the shape? Like, she would never say that. Lori would never say that. She would say the boogeyman or Michael. So that, like, little things go a little too far. And I almost think that Danny McBride and David Gordon Green should have like took a step back and like stopped geeking out so much in certain things. I'm like, let's keep this focused and real. But other than that, I'm about them. They're fun.
The homages I like the most out of the movie are the ones that are a little bit more layered and subtle. I think that the movie reminds me a lot about, the more I watch this movie, it kind of reminds me a lot of the Friday the 13th remake in a sense that it kind of pays tribute to a lot of the sequels without directly paying tribute to it. You really have to look for it, you know, and this might be coincidental, but like, for instance, let's go back to the beginning, and we didn't even talk about the reporter's death. Well, no, that didn't happen yet. We haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, we'll get there now. You know, when they're in the bathroom, that whole scene in the bathroom, very reminiscent of a Rob Zombie movie. I thought that was kind of like an homage to, okay, we're going to recognize this gritty, you know, dark legacy in the franchise, and we're going to do this bathroom scene, which is like disgusting and stuff. So I think we get a few more instances of that where it kind of reminds you of some of the sequels. And of course, you have the sequence when he's going house to house when he first gets the mask. I mean, that's Halloween 2. It's like straight out of Halloween 2. So yeah, I love those kind of more than the direct ha, oh, this is from the original same scene. I like that they did that as well. But let's go back to the dinner scene. So again, this is another example of someone who just is a little in over their head. I mean, Michael is literally escaping as we speak. You left the bus, you left him, and I think it's a really great portrayal that, you know, Lori really does care about Allison and her granddaughter, because if it was for anyone else, she would have stayed with Michael that entire night and she would have tracked that bus. But the fact that she was able to find the courage to, after drinking all those shooters in her car, to find the courage to
she was obviously showed up drunk,
make it to the restaurant and be there for her granddaughter, although it went sour very fast because she was drunk and she was a little unhinged. But I think it just kind of shows you how much she cares about her family and particularly her granddaughter.
Right, and obviously also goes to the point of she didn't have the strength to go after that bus yet, and at the end when she had her daughter and her granddaughter, that's when she had the strength to, you know, quote unquote defeat Michael for a few hours until he comes back and kills. But yeah, so I like that too. I'm all about that poetic stuff in the movies. But yeah, I love that scene too. Again, that's another character moment between her, Karen, and Allison that like pushes the story forward and pushes all three of their arcs forward. So yeah, I think that's a crucial scene, and anyone who says it's not is not going.
Yeah, and I like how they didn't.
Right things.
I sorry to cut you off. I like how they didn't do a one-sided take on Laurie's relationship with Karen, because this scene you get Karen is very justified, and Allison is able to see firsthand how unhinged Laurie is, whether or not it's justified or not. Because obviously he escapes, so she's correct in the end. But it's yeah, but it really kind of in a way kind of makes Karen a little bit more sympathetic, because she's in the end she has that moment with her daughter and she's like, I don't want to be right about all this, but this is just the cold hard facts that your grandmother, you know, needs a lot of help, and I didn't want her to ruin this special moment. So I really think the balance of all three of these characters, I think, was done beautifully in this movie.
Yeah, no, I agree to an extent. I do think Karen again is a little too much with Lori. She's like, oh, Mom, why'd you come here? It's too much. Like, this is too much. I'm like, just fucking talk to her and take her home.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I could see why you would think that, but this is probably the one scene that I relate to the most when I talk about like toxic family members, because I've been there when you're just so done with someone that you want nothing to do with them, and it's kind of you're putting your own barriers up because you don't want to kind of face that yourself. So I kind of really appreciate that scene because it kind of struck home with me.
And they also let her drive home, like, obviously drunk. So I'm like, okay, motherfuckers.
Well, let is a strong word. I don't think anyone was going to stop Lori in that moment.
Yeah, but... like, all right. But I right after this, we get the big escape scene, and I love how, you know, the dad and the son, I love how on the radio, it's the song that's playing, I Wish I Had You All Alone, just the two of us. That's the song that Lori's singing. That's a cool, like, little homage like that, where it's not, like, banged over my head. That's the song that obviously Lori's singing when she's walking home alone in the OG Halloween. And then the kid's like, Dad, look out. And you see all, like, the inmates in, like, the fog walking around, which is clearly a homage to when they're walking around in the rain in the OG. I thought that was beautifully shot. And then, of course, you know, I mean, there's many moments because it's a slash movie, but when the dad, you know, you stay in the car, I'm going to go check it out. They split up, and the dad goes, and shit goes down south real quick. But I do love the scene when the kid, like, you know, grabs the gun and is going to look around. You see the security guard or whatever, the police officer who's on the ground yelling at him to run. And he goes and he shoots Dr. Sartain because he pops up out of nowhere. I laugh at that. He's like, fuck! And he goes running back to the car. And then again, like, this is controversial. It's been a big topic, especially lately online. But, yo, this is horror. And horror is gonna horror. And Michael kills a fucking kid. And you know what? I was like, damn, they went there. And fuck yeah, you gotta go there. It's Michael fucking Myers. So I know it's not everyone's thing, but this is horror. And some scenes are supposed to make you feel uneasy and uncomfortable. And I was like, holy shit, he fucking just snapped that kid's neck. And we saw it and we heard the sound effects. And I remember my mom was like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, this is fucking Michael Myers. Like, so again, I love this scene. I love the effects when they find the dad's body, like his like neck's all like torn back. Cool scene. I love it. I think it's a great scene. And obviously Michael, he escapes and gets away. So I love it.
I love it too. Seeing this for the first time, you're just kind of sitting there like, we've seen this song and dance before. Here we go. Like, this is, of course, you know. And I like how we just kind of stumble upon the scene. We don't actually see what happened.
Oh, that
for obvious reasons, because the twist with the doctor, you know, Sartain, but, you know, because he's obviously the one who flipped that bus and caused havoc. But I love how we kind of just stumble across this scene. It's very eerie and spooky, and you don't know, Michael's free, but you don't know these other patients what the hell they're capable of. So super sketchy. I remember kind of being on the edge of my seat, like waiting for Michael to kind of pop up at some point and kind of do the whole jump scare stalking scene. But I thought it was played really well. They took their time with it. He never shows up until he's in the car. So very calculated, you know, kind of, he could have just, it's funny, he could have just taken the car. But now he gets into the back seat and he's like, I need to kind of recharge the batteries a little bit. I need to get a kill under my belt. So let me snap
nice
this
throwback to the OG too, when he pops up in that back seat.
Yes.
Kills poor Annie.
Yeah. Then we get, I believe the next sequence is the Judith's grave. I really appreciate this scene as well.
Gotta bring it back to Judith. Come on.
Yeah, I really like that he's visiting Judith's grave. I like, because spoilers are ahead for the trilogy, but I'm sure everyone's seen it. You know, the whole thing that Laurie isn't special and Michael just kind of wants to go home and he's kind of a mindless killer in a sense. But I do like that they added this, that Judith, he still thinks about Judith. And that's the first place that he went to after the crash, was to her grave. I thought that was a really nice touch.
And I love how you kind of, if you see that scene when the woman who actually does pop up again in Halloween Kills, I can't remember what's her name, Sandra or whatever. Sandra, so she's the caretaker. I like that in that scene when you find out that the grave's like, oh, this is Judith's grave, that you kind of see, if you look, Michael's in the background in that scene. You can see him like put his hand on the tree and move away. So he's actually shows up in that scene, and I love that shit.
Yeah, well, you get the POV shot of him too. He's kind of out of focus. But then you kind of see in the distance Sandra kind of looking at him. What the fuck? Who the hell is that?
Fucking love it.
I thought it was a really nice little touch to kind of add a little layer to the character of Michael for this new timeline. I thought it was really well done.
And it obviously brings another scene with Aaron and Dana, the investigative journalists, because that's their last scene before the lights are out for them. Which, thank God, finally, about time.
Yeah.
Dumbasses.
Again, I love the shots of Michael in the background at the gas station, kind of just walking across the parking lot and
he's just walking. He's just fucking walking in the background.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up. But you gotta have a gas station scene, nice homage to Halloween 4. Again, he fucking Halloween movie when he has to get his jumpsuit. Like, come on, he's gotta go to get a mechanic jumpsuit. Come on.
Yeah.
It works fine. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the bathroom scene again. Like you said, it could be a throwback to like the Rob Zombie roughness of like when Michael goes into the restroom, and it's also a little throwback to H2O. You know, that scene in the bathroom when she's just sitting there and he sees him walking in. But it's so, again, the fucking score. Michael kills again. Oh, God, it's so fucking good. It amps me up. The characters are fucking stupid in this scene. Dana, poor Dana, when he's like stands in front of the stall and she's just like, someone's in here. I'm like, yo, fuck you doing? Get your pants on, girl. Get ready to fight. So he starts like breaking down the door, and then she's crawling under the fucking dirty floors. And then Aaron comes in, and he tries to go toe to toe with Michael, and does not end well for him at all. I like the darkness of when he's just slamming him against the fucking stall, and then throwing him against the fucking walls and shit, and you just see his face at the end, just the blood dripping everywhere. And then Dana, while he's killing Aaron, Dana's not running away, fighting or anything. She's just standing there, like, holding her weapon, not doing anything. I'm like, girl, you could have escaped. But she just waits to die, pretty much. And, yeah, he snaps her neck. We get our first, like, Michael Myers back again kill. And I love the shot when they cut to the mechanic, and you see his fucking, like, face, his, like, chin is, like, fucking destroyed and removed from... Oh, my God, I love that. Again, Christopher Nelson killed it with the effects, so I love that shot. And then, obviously, we get the iconic shot when he gets his mask. I wish it was a little bit like later in the day and not like so focused in the daytime. I think it was like set at dusk. It would have been a little more creepy, but it's in broad daylight when he puts his mask back on and closes the trunk. But again, it gives me chills because it's Michael putting his mask on again. I just wish it was a little bit darker, but I fucking love it. I love it.
Yeah, again, talk about a nasty scene. He's got the teeth that he sprinkles over the top of the door stall. Just so disgusting and gross.
Playing his games. That's what Michael does.
She has the door locked and then crawls under the stall to get to another stall, which is unlocked, was a stupid moment. And then, like you said, just kind of freezes. She's definitely not a fighter. She's definitely a freezer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's got the weapon, but she can't even use it. Yeah.
She doesn't have fight or flight. She has like freeze. It's freeze mode.
Freeze mode, yeah. She can't even hold the weapon. She's like,
no, she's
like this, and Michael's like,
hit him at
let
least,
me put you out of your misery. Yeah.
And he does. No, I feel like it's a sympathy kill. Like he's like,
Yeah. I love it too. I thought that was a great scene, and that we get the first look at of him putting the mask on, which I thought was great. I thought it was. I think that's a little too nitpicky, to be honest.
I just don't like it.
I personally liked it. I thought we got a really good shot of that mask. It's one of my favorite shots, so I think it's was perfect. So I don't have any complaints with
obviously, that. Lori finds out because it's on the news, and she goes to the crime scene. And this is a scene when she goes to warn Karen that like Michael escaped, and Karen just dismisses her, like, turn on the news, bitch. And she's pretty much like, Lori, you got to move on. I'm like, oh, Karen. Yeah. I can't forgive Karen for this scene. I can't. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I also Lori didn't really she kind of just let Karen push her out. And I mean, I don't know. I know she's like, didn't really have a choice, but she let Karen and Ray I thought both of them could have handled the situation a little bit better, for sure.
Yeah. Again, I mean, Lori's my girl, so I'm on her side. But, I get it. She just pretty much get out, and she's just like, all right, fuck you. I'm going to get out and go look for Michael. Again, this movie, like, this is, like, again, thinking about pacing, like, this movie just picks up after that scene. It just really keeps going. Like,
yeah, well, no, it's been 40 years, so Michael needs to kill again. He's got the thirst. Now that he's got his mask.
Let's do the one shot. Let's get to the one shot.
Yeah, I fucking love it too. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great way to kind of set up Michael for this new trilogy, kind of just going door to door, like we said, in homage to Halloween 2.
Dude,
I thought it was awesome.
So well.
I don't think I will agree with you that I wanted a little bit more stalking in this movie, but not this shot. I thought this whole
this was perfectly done.
Was perfect. How he kind of just got right to business, got his kitchen knife, and kind of just went to town and kind of regained his power, if you will.
It's the whole sequence is an homage to Halloween 2, and that's my baby as well. It's my favorite sequel in this franchise. to the point where he like when he walks into the dude, it's the same homage when he like Michael walks into the dude in the streets and he has the kid with the radio on his arm. It's the same exact shot in this movie. Like shit like that gets me going. There's also like there's the kids with the masks from Halloween 3 in this scene, which they will come into play again in Halloween Kills in a big way. But I just love when he's walking down that alleyway, he just like fucking picks up the hammer, and it's shot so well when he kills the woman, like pretty much the Mrs. Elrod, whatever, throwback to Halloween 2. They don't show it. They don't show you. Just again, the sound design is so good in this movie. You just hear him fucking,
yeah,
and then he drops the hammer. He's like, "That's my knife, bitch. Let me take it."
Yeah,
and I'll never forget because we just saw him kill a kid. The scene in the theater, watching him walk, and you hear the baby cry.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Oh no, what's gonna happen?" I just never forget that. I knew because in my brain, I'm like, "There's no way a rated R movie is gonna be able to have Michael Myers do this." So I mean, my movie brain knew it wasn't gonna happen, but that thought of just everyone like, my mom was like, "No, Anthony, what did you bring me to? Like, what are we gonna watch this right now?" Like, I'm just like smirking, like, just watch. But I love how and they even fuck with you to the point where he stops and looks. And he's like, "No, I got more fish to fry," and he just keeps going. But I think it's so genius that they made him stop and look. I'm like, "Oh, are they gonna do it?" So fucking perfectly shot. And then when he goes in the second house, this kill is fucking amazing. First of all, the pumpkins everywhere and the decorations, like chef's kiss. Not enough Halloween movies take advantage of the Halloween holiday and have enough decorations. I love that there was like pumpkins everywhere. But I love how he walks in the back of the house and that woman's on the phone. And then when he just comes up behind her, fucking grabs her hair, slams her down, pulls her up, and the fucking knife through the neck. I remember again, the audience was like, "Fuck, like holy shit." They all jolted. Such a good scene. Chef's kiss. It might be, besides the finale, this might be like one of my favorite sequences in the movie. It's so fucking, that's like expert directing in my opinion.
I love how they added that baby scene because it kind of adds a little bit more mystique to Michael. You know, again, it's kind of subtle, very subtle layers to the character. And I believe it was David Gordon Green. I saw an interview where they kind of asked him about that scene, and he said, you know, he didn't really have too much of an agenda. He just kind of wanted people to realize that there's something in there and that he's not just a robot, that he is kind of a human, and he does, I guess, draw a line somewhere. So I think people, I remember when it first came out, people were trying to over complicate that scene and talk about these crazy fan theories, but I thought he did a good job kind of explaining, like, no, I just kind of added that just to kind of add a little bit of complexity to the character, and I thought it was done brilliantly. I thought the whole sequence was so nice.
It's so good, and I think it actually adds to the creepiness of Michael. He's not like
agreed, yeah,
Jason Voorhees killing machine where he'll kill whatever. He like is selective and it's random, and he randomly chooses his prey. So I honestly think that makes it more terrifying than anything. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that and the Judith scene were like the two scenes that we really got like a little bit of layers to Michael, but it wasn't overdone. It was I think the perfect amount to kind of give you that creepiness vibe that he is just a dude that went mad and just wants to kill people. You know, he's not like you said. He's not this zombie like Jason is in the sequels and stuff. He's not, you know, this robot, if you will. He is a real person that's inside that mask, and for whatever his reasons are, which we obviously don't know, we still don't know to this day, there's something behind those eyes. It's, you know, the devil's eyes, but
purely and simply evil.
Yeah.
No, but I love that you just said we don't know and we don't find out, and I'm happy you said that because that's something the later sequels, like especially Curse of Michael Myers, does that, in my opinion, ruin what Michael Myers and Halloween is. So I'm happy that this whole trilogy kind of just like, don't give us too much. Again, this one specifically, like, you know, don't give us answers. Like, just put theories, like you put questions out, but don't give answers to Michael Myers. That's what ruins the franchise. So I'm happy you brought that up because I agree 100%.
I know we get kind of like the dance scene and stuff. We can kind of just like gloss over that. I really want to get to the Vicky of it all. The Vicky and
fucking love my girl.
What's the little kid's name?
Julian.
Forget Julian. That's right. I love that name, Julian. It's such a cool name.
Clipping his nasty ass toenails.
Yes, that scene is awesome. What did you think of the humor in that scene? I thought it was.
I think that's the perfect example of like how humor should be, and it was like a genuine, like heartwarming laugh with these two people who you know are about to be put in a traumatic situation. It's just some levity. But again, Julian, like the actor, I don't even have his name handy, but his comedic timing.
Yeah.
Again,
yeah.
Chef's, and I think their chemistry, Julian and Vicky, is really good. Like they play off each other so well. I love them like together. I was like, oh, like I want to hang out with them when she's babysitting. I like they have a really good relationship, and it's just gonna make it all the more heartbreaking when Julian has to watch her get killed. So, but I love them so much. I love that sequence too. I'm bummed that Vicky didn't make it longer, but you know, you gotta have victims, and she's a prime one right there. But it's so sad. It's so sad.
It is so sad. I really like the way they handled Vicky's kill. Having Julian present for it, and seeing it was a pretty nice touch. I thought Julian was an awesome character. He's definitely the smartest character in this franchise. I mean, he wants no part of that. He's like, nope, 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 and he just fucking runs the hell out of there.
I love how when Dave's there too, her boyfriend, when he's like, oh, there's someone, I saw someone in the hallway, someone's in the room, and she's like, I'll check, and he's like, no, send Dave. I'm like, yeah, Julian, I agree, send Dave. I don't want Vicky to die. Send Dave. It cracks me up. And then again, it's like the whole Michael Myers is the boogeyman. There's a monster in my closet. I mean, you couldn't get more, chef's kiss than her like trying to close the door and then opening it, and he's there. I will give kudo to Dave though, like. Once Vicky is trying to run, and those fucking damn fluffy socks really fucking did her in when she slips. But, you know, when she tells Julian to run, and he's like, Dave, you know, you're going to die. But Dave grabs that knife, and he goes after Vicky. He doesn't run away. He goes into it. And again, I mean, kind of like a dumbass move on him part. But that just shows how much, you know, everyone loved Vicky. And he went after her. And I do love that. I don't mind that we didn't see him get killed. That we just see the shot of him. I think that was another good jolt of him. Like, you just see him fucking, like, stabbed in the neck against the wall. And then when, Hawkins goes in and he's searching, he finds Vicky under the blanket. Obviously, another homage to the OG. But that's, again, an easy, subtle one. And I love how he's just yelling for Michael. And Michael's just like, fuck you, I'm walking. Like, I saw Lori outside. I'm walking out of this house. But yeah, I thought that scene, again, was very good. Some people get bummed that they didn't see Dave get killed. But I didn't think I need to just see like that set piece. I thought that reveal was pretty awesome.
I thought the homage and then the eventual fake out was really well done. How Dave goes into the garage and you think for sure Michael's
with the
going to kill him in the garage.
Yeah.
The fact that he's already in the closet that entire time kind of adds, again, it adds a creepiness factor. Like, how the fuck did he get up there? Because they've been home the entire time and he's just been waiting in that closet the whole time. Like, what was he planning on doing? I guess killing, I don't know, because he didn't kill Julian. I think he was really looking for that spook factor, and that kind of is an example
his games, man. That's what he does.
Of original Michael playing his games, and that's one of the. I wish we got more examples of that throughout the trilogy, but this was a real kind of throwback to the original. This is where we disagree completely, because I've talked about this before. My most major gripe with this movie is not seeing Dave's kill sequence. I thought that would have made this movie kind of perfect for me, and it would have went over the top.
Perfect.
We never get this entire movie a sequence. We get Vicky like in the bedroom, but it's not really like a stalking sequence. It's just her seeing him in the closet, and she pretty much dies instantly. But we never get that classic scene where we know a character is gonna die and he's being stalked throughout the house, and that would have been the perfect moment to kind of have Michael stalk Dave through the house. It would have been excellent, I think. And it's also kind of, not to bash the editing team, but it's kind of edited poorly too. He kind of decides to go save Vicky, and then it just kind of cuts to black, and you kind of, it's almost like they cut it from the
Lori
movie.
Outside,
yeah, it's almost like they cut it and it was like a deleted scene. I don't think it was, because I haven't seen it anywhere, but it was very awkwardly handled, and I really wish that we got that scene. I know this movie was an hour and 45 minutes, so that's a good sweet spot, but if they could have added just a one quick little couple minutes sequence.
So you wanted him to be stalked, Dave to be stalked, like after that? That's what you wanted to see, like.
Yeah, for sure, funny. Because we know Dave is going to die.
Oh, yeah.
Instantly, as soon as we see him as a character, we know he's going to die, just being slasher fans. So knowing he's going to die in that moment and having him kind of being creeped around the house, I think would have been awesome, and it would have been an awesome kind of nod to the original.
It's so
because we never really get
I wish
that.
We do, well, this is. I'll agree with you on this point. I don't think this scene's perfect, and I wish the flip flop would happen. I wish we got a chase scene with Vicky because she eurned that shit.
Yeah, we
So
could
I
have
don't
gotten
like
that too. Yeah,
either, whatever, either one,
either or.
I think
Yeah,
that Vicky earned a chase scene, and again, I don't want to bring marketing into the movies, but her whole sequence, I felt like it was a tease in the trailer, but everything that's in the trailer is all she gets.
yeah,
Like the door opens, she gets slashed, and she goes in the hallway and dies.
yeah.
Like I want a chase scene, and that I think this was the perfect placement in the movie for that kind of chase scene. Think like, you know, Sarah Michelle Gellar, I Know What You Did Last Summer, or Courtney Cox in Scream 2 before the finale. This is the perfect spot for this segment for this to happen, and we didn't get it. You know, we don't get a chase scene, and I don't want to call Oscar as a chase scene. He just runs to the fence, and again, that character, I'm like, I don't really care. But I think Vicky really, she earned a chase scene. Whether I agree with you, whether it was through the house or out the backyard, like, you know, she deserved some sort of chase because Laurie had a whole fucking chase in the OG when she went not only like through the house, but she went out the house, across the street, through the other house. Like the whole finale of the OG is a chase scene, and I think that as again Vicky, she really, like that actor, she earned her stripes, and I think it would have been cool if she had a chase scene and then like a la like Sarah Michelle Gellar, she didn't make it out. She still could have died, but you know, something to get us on our toes a little bit. So I do agree with that. I think this was the perfect segment for not just a kill set piece, but like a chase set piece. And I do think that was the missed opportunity with this segment.
I wouldn't mind that. We could have rearranged the whole scene. Yeah, we could have
whatever.
had
Like
Dave
you
die
wanted
in
some
the
sort of
garage,
stalk chase, right?
and then we know
right.
Michael's outside, and then she gets the chase scene. But I was just kind of, it was more low hanging fruit because it was right there. They could have just added that on to the scene. It would have been perfect for me. So yeah, that's kind of when I said I had a nitpick with this movie. I've talked about this in the past, but that is like the one major thing we are missing is because you know you get the finale and it's more of like Laurie kind of
she's hunting him
in a way. So I wouldn't go that far, but it's more of a 50-50 that, you know, they're kind of going at it. It's more of a battle. It's not so much of a final girl or a chase scene where you get an epic kill at the end. So I do wish we get that as well, for sure.
No, I'm on the same page that we needed like one or two real chase scenes, I should say, in this movie, because we don't really have any. And that's the sweet spot for me in a slash movie too, when you have those iconic chase scenes. So so we agree on that. But overall, again, poor Vicky, rest in peace. Like handled well, but could have been something epic and all-timer scene. It's not an all-timer scene in the franchise for me. But then after this, what do you think about the first time Laurie and Michael see each other again when she sees him through the window? How do you think that was handled?
Oh, I thought it was good. I thought it was cool how she kind of doesn't hesitate and just fucking tries to shoot him from like 30 yards away.
Yeah, bitch. She does get the first shot.
So,
like Hawkins chases him through the house, and she gets the first. She shoots him in the shoulder or whatever when he's walking away.
Do you think Michael was toying with Laurie? Do you think he saw her outside? I think it was kind of just almost a coincidence.
I almost think
it's really hard to believe that he would have seen her through the reflection.
I think he does, and he's like, "Oh, was that bitch that I was like after 40 years ago?" I almost get the vibe he's like, "Oh, is that her? Like, is she coming after me now?" I gotta get. I like to think in my head that he recognizes it was her because, again, to me, it's the whole Michael and Laurie are connected, even though they're not supposed to be in this one. But it's like that's the ultimate battle they have is with each other. So I like to think that he realized her. Well, they were just like, "Oh, that's that girl that I almost killed 40 years ago." I kind of think that's how I think about that scene from his point of view. And then from her, she's just like, there he is. I'm not going to waste any time. And she doesn't. She goes for it. So I in my head, I like to think that he did recognize it was Laurie. And he did taunt her a little bit.
Yeah, in my head, I like to think that. But I think he was just waiting for Frank. And he was stalking Frank. And he happened to be in the reflection. That's kind of how I process that. But Laurie, again, it's kind of a one-sided thing. Laurie sees him. But
why do you think he left the house and just Frank was calling out and he just left? Do you think he saw Laurie at that point and then was walking?
Well, she shoots the mirror, so he knows that there's people outside shooting guns at him. So I think he was smart, and he's like, all right, I have to get out of here because my powers aren't totally regained yet. Let's get out of here. Yeah. Yeah,
I thought overall it was handled well. Again, I could have used a little bit more, but I think like her again. This is all Jamie Lee Curtis when she's like, look at him. It's like the fear and the anger, you can see her face, like everything is just building up.
I thought it was enough. I didn't think it was too much. They could have went too much, but I think it helped build the tension for the finale, the epic finale, when he does kind of meet her at her home. So I thought it was done pretty well.
And I love how when Frank like goes behind her, she's like whacks him in the face. She's like, Jesus fuck, Frank. It's so good. But yeah, no, I think it's over well done. And then again, then we get the scene where, you know, fucking finally Karen realizes when they go to her house and Lori goes like, this is real, like, where's Allison? And then we get the whole spiel of Lori on the phone, like, do as like, another throwback to H2O and the OG, you know, go into my house, like, do as I say, and go there. Now I fucking love that shit when she does that. But then we get the whole Allison and Oscar scene. And this is one of the best score drops of the movie. In this
I like this scene. Again, this is kind of what I wanted more of, the Oscar scene. Like you said, Oscar is a character we don't really care about, so it was kind of
especially after what he does.
Fun like little scene. Yeah, he kind of thinks it's the guy's yard. He's kind of watching him, and I forget his name, the guy who owns the property. But
again, it's Mr. Elrod, who's gonna throw back to Halloween 2.
Yes, that's like, right, Elrod. Yeah.
But what do you think about him? Like, he tries to kiss his best friend's girlfriend after just talking down on him, and like she's just like, I just need a friend. He just does that. So that's like, all right, I'm ready for him to die. But I love the motion light scene, like the motion sensor.
Yeah, again, creepy. It was really cool. Yeah. Michael kind of playing with his food a little bit, you know.
That's what I want.
Using the motion sensor to his advantage.
That was scary.
Pretty creepy.
I thought that was scary.
It was.
And when you see him, like, you know, you see him in the background, then each shot, he slowly comes closer until he slashes. I thought that was directed really well. I didn't really care for the chase scene, and, like, Oscar's, like, bitchy screams. I'm like, all right, Michael, get this motherfucker. Kill him already. But I do like his kill. I do, too. And this sets up one of the... Your drop.
Most awesome drops ever. We get Allison, the fucking scream... Her establishing herself as a scream queen. We get Allison's scream when she sees him, and then we get the fucking music drop. It's my favorite. I've told you this before.
It's the shape hunts Allison. Yes.
Yeah, it's my favorite drop. It is so cool, and this is an example of him kind of bringing the score into the 21st century with the kind of synthesization.
Again, round of applause for John Carpenter because he fucking murders the score.
It is so cool. It is so cool.
Again, I will say I wish she got a little bit of a chase scene on this, and after this scene, like I wish she chased her a little bit. She runs right to the neighbor's door, and it's done. I wanted more of that score. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess whatever. I don't think it's
like chase her a little bit.
Yeah.
Man. Like Allison deserved a chase scene. She has no chase scenes in the entire trilogy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just so well done, and it's another this movie. Talking about it, I forget how many homages they have. I mean, this is another.
I told you, dude. It's a movie. It's the requel. Yeah.
Yeah. It really is like one big giant.
But again, when Laurie's banging on the door in the OG, like she's getting chased. She's like, "Help me, please, help me, please." It just ends right away when Allison does it.
Well, she's never getting chased. Yeah. So
Allison's never getting chased. He's just there. But Laurie's getting chased.
No, I'm talking about Allison. You wanted more of a chase. There wasn't any chase. So you wanted a chase.
Exactly. I wanted a Exactly. I wanted a chase.
Okay. Yeah, no,
I just pops out to say hi, and then he goes hi. He keeps going on his way.
Yeah.
But yeah, Allison, again, she kills it with that scream, and I'm like, yes, the shape hunts Allison. That's like an iconic track on the soundtrack for this one. It's so good.
For sure. Okay, let's keep it going here.
Yeah, I mean, just all leading up to the finale.
Yeah, I mean, we get Allison gets picked up by the police cruiser. She gets picked up by what's his name, Hawkins, and Sartain is there too.
Here we go. Let's get to the other controversy.
Here we go. This is the big reveal. Yeah, you know, Sartain. Obviously, they find Michael. He's just kind of strolling down the street, going for a leisurely stroll. They hit him with the car. And
a leisurely stroll.
Did you see this coming with Sartain? How did you feel about this reveal? You did see it coming?
I liked it because up to this point I was like, this is a ripoff Dr. Loomis, so I'm happy that he ended up becoming the anti-Dr. Loomis. This is not Dr. Loomis. This is obviously an evil person who has ulterior motives, so I'm happy about this twist. I know a lot of people hate it, but I'm pro this twist because before the twist, I was like, he's a bad imitation of Dr. Loomis. And after the twist, I'm like, oh, I get it now. I get it why he was saying this or being like this. So I'm pro the twist. I don't like that he put Michael's mask on. I don't think he's worthy of putting Michael Myers' mask on. But overall, I think that this is a twist the movie needed to set him apart from Dr. Loomis, because again, there's only one Dr. Loomis, and it's Donald motherfucking Pleasance. It's not this guy. So yeah, I'm pro this twist. I like it. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I loved this whole sequence with Sartain. I thought it was really well done. I'm not going to say I knew it was going to happen the whole time, but as we kind of progressed and as he's, you know, in the cop car and he doesn't want him to fucking hit Michael, you knew something was about to go down, especially when Hawkins, you know, hit Michael and Michael's down for the count and Hawkins is about to, you know, either arrest him or end him. It looks like he was about to execute him, and we know he probably is now that we have the flashback sequences from Halloween Kills. But yeah, no, it's a shame. Poor Hawkins. You think he's a goner, you think he's dead. Obviously, he's back in the sequel, but in the moment, you think he died. And I really liked that character. I thought he did a good job. So that was kind of a bummer, but I thought this was played pretty well, and it sets up one of the spookiest scenes in this movie when he throws Michael in the back seat with Allison. I mean, talk
Poor
about
Allison.
nightmare fuel, man. Holy shit. I mean, she's with Michael Myers in the back of a cop car. So scary. And you know at any moment he's going to wake up, and you're just like waiting for that moment. You're like, oh shit, what's he going to do? How the hell? Because you know Allison's not going to die right there. So you're just, your anxiety is building because you're like, well, how the hell is she going to escape this? You know?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm pro. I love this, and I obviously love Dr. Sartain's death scene. It's fucking awesome.
It's so fucking. It's so campy, but it's great.
But a good
I
camp.
love it.
That's
Yeah,
good camp.
yeah, I love it.
The scene of humor I don't like, though, is I think we spend too much time. We could have got like a 2-minute chase scene with Vicky, but we spend the 2 minutes or 3 minutes with those two stupid cops, like talking about like the sandwiches that they're fucking making and eating. So like that's the one, like, I'm like, Danny McBride, you took it a little too far. I didn't need this hokey scene. I thought it was like a waste of runtime, and it ruined the tension.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, because we could have used that runtime for something else, I guess is your
Like,
point.
something crucial. Like this was unnecessary. But
Yeah.
it's just something I didn't like this humor. I didn't find any humor in it either. I was like, this is stupid.
Okay. No, I see what you're saying. I think that it was okay. I mean, I don't know. I love their deaths because when Ray
Well, their
finds
deaths
them,
are awesome. Like,
Yeah,
I'm happy
cool.
we still have their. I want their deaths. I just don't care about their like bigger. It reminds me of the cops from Halloween 5.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
the
I
two
kind
cops from
of
Halloween 5.
liked it. I kind of gave us.
Okay.
We kind of got to know them for a brief moment before they died. So I always appreciate that when it's not just some nameless victim, you know.
Right.
So
right, okay.
I don't think I minded as much as you. It's not a laugh out loud scene for me. I don't think it was really funny either. Maybe I chuckled the first time I saw it, but other than that, it's not a scene that really kind of hits for me humor wise. So I will agree with you there, but I don't think it was wasted screen time. I think it was used decently effective because their kills are so brutal, and you see them in the front seat with the flashlight and stuff. Yeah,
God,
I know.
so good. And
The one thing I wanted to touch on was Sartain's comment he says to Lori, which always confused me. And again, it's kind of
to
like...
Allison or Lori?
I'm sorry, to Allison. Thanks for
Okay.
correcting me. What he says to Allison is that... What is the line? He says that Michael's pursuit of Lori keeps him alive. And vice versa.
Curious, like, or what's, is it?
Yeah,
it keeps
I
them
always
both
thought that
going
was a
pretty
weird
much.
line, and I think it just goes to show you how emotionally attached he was to this case and to Michael, and how he wanted there to be more than what there was out of Michael and Lori. And he wanted, I mean, you see it, we didn't touch on it, but you see it when he meets Lori, he meets her briefly, and he's like fangirling out. He's like, oh my God, it's the Laurie Strode. So I always thought that line was pretty funny. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It keeps him alive. He's just a regular dude in a psychiatric hospital. Like, shit, if Lori died, he wouldn't die with her. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I thought it was, I know it was kind of metaphoric. It's not supposed to be taken literally,
exactly.
but I thought that was kind of a weird line. I was like, what the hell is he talking about?
Right. He thinks that their reunion is gonna like do something, but like Michael's already killing people. Like, what else do you like? What else do you?
Yeah.
He's killing.
Yeah.
He's already killing, man. So I think that's like a personal like fanboy moment for him. Like he wants to see him go attack his original victim who got away again. But yeah, again, he got a little too hokey for me. But I love I love Lori. She's like, oh, you're the new Loomis, like AKA like you're no Loomis.
Yeah. So here we go. Let's get into the final sequence. We get to Lori's house. Ray obviously gets it, and then Michael
Huge
and
never
Lori.
split up moment with Ray.
Huge
dumb.
moment. But Michael and Lori, I mean, Michael bursts through the door, which,
Love
I mean,
this
dude,
shot.
you have like this impenetrable fortress and you have these open windows. Like, what are you doing? You have all these bars, but she didn't have
But
bars
she
on the
also
windows.
she wants him in there at the same point, because we find out like where she wants him to end up, like in the trap.
Uh-huh.
So I get it to a point too, what she was going for. But I love the shot when he like grabs her and he's like holding her whole body up. And I'm like, oh man, Laurie, like, come on, where's this fight? And she figures her way out because she's Laurie Strode. So I love how she shoots his fingers off. I'm like, oh, Michael's fingers are gone. He's missing
Yeah.
fingers already. So good. I love it. And I love how she's like yelling at Karen, like, go, baby, go, like, get down there. Like, she's really like, again, like the OG, she was fighting for the kids. She's fighting for her actual kid.
Yeah.
And her granddaughter in this one. So again, that's like chef's kiss to me. It's stuff like the character moments like that. They get to me.
I thought it was pretty funny how she makes it down there with Karen and they're kind of hiding from Michael and this safe house in the basement. They have all the guns and stuff. And then she instantly gives away her position by shooting Michael through the floorboards. I'm like, okay, we're doing this. Let's take the offensive. I thought that was kind of funny how she's like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not waiting around. Let's.
She's like, I have to finish this, Karen. Stay.
She gets him. You hear the thud. Yeah.
Yep.
But that was a risky play for sure. I mean, if she misses him and he is like, oh, they're below me, I mean, that could have ended pretty quickly for her. So
again, but she wants him to know, like, that's where they are in the end, because that's gonna get him down there. But I love, she's just like, all right, Karen, shut the fuck up. I gotta go finish this. And she just leaves and goes through the house, and she stalks him. Whereas in the original, he was stalking her. So I love that she has the trap where, like, after she checks each room, she has that button and like the gates drop. I thought that was pretty badass.
It was pretty badass. I thought that was a cool touch. I was getting pumped up watching that. I was like, oh shit, she is ready for him. This is awesome. Yeah. And then she's not letting Michael kind of creep through the rooms and surprise her. So she's closing off room by room, so kind of cornering him in to where she wants him. I thought it was awesome.
I love that. And she's cutting off his games. Like, he can't play games with her because she's like closing off every option he has. And I love that the room that I'm gonna hugely nerd out right now, but the room that he ends up being in is a replica, like same dimensions of the room where she hid in the closet. Like, it's the same exact room, just in the 2018 movie. It's literally the same setup and everything with the closet, the bed, and the balcony. It's the same exact room as the OG. So I love that that's where they end up having their little mini fight before he throws her off the balcony.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. I thought it was really like a fucking battle, man. Like I said 50-50 before. You really think that Laurie is prepared and ready for him, but he also has the edge because he's Michael fucking Myers. I mean, the whole mannequin scene, it was really intense the first time I saw it. You didn't know which mannequin he was going to pop out from behind or if it was just going to be a fake out and he wasn't going to be there. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I loved the, we talked about it. I love the balcony scene. I love how she kind of disappears. I think I audibly laughed the first time I saw that in a good way, though. I thought it was.
I cheered with joy. I'm like, that's my girl. That's my fucking girl.
It's so cool.
And it's not like people who say like, oh, like it's just like plot armor. Like, he stabs her in that scene. She gets stabbed in the stomach. So like, he's going at her. Like, he's not taking it easy. Like, she's resorting to biting him to get in, like, where he got shot, to like get him to stop and throw her off the balcony. Like, all right, bitch. Like, he throws her off, and I think that it's a fair fight, and I think that it feels like a brawl, like a good brawl. And I just love when you know, he hears Allison scream when she comes in the house, and he looks back and she's gone. Again, that's the homage that gets me like pumping my fists. I'm like, this is my final girl. Like, yes. It's so good. And then of course Allison's running and calling grandmother again. Like, grandmother, girl, there's blood everywhere. What are you doing? Focus. And then I guess Karen like calls her down in there. And then I love the shot. I love the shot when he comes back down the stairs. I can't remember if it's, no, I think actually before, when it's just Laurie and Karen. We didn't talk about the shot with the zoom up shot where you just see him in the house and it's a slow zoom up shot and you see him in the darkness. It's just such a fucking scary shot, an intimidating shot of Michael. I love it so much. But obviously he makes his way down there and he's knocking that island over extremely easily. And you have Karen who's like yelling like, I can't do, like hesitating to get the gun. And then she's yelling, I can't do it, like, Mom, help us. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh no, her character should just get killed already. I'm like, what are they doing to her? I'm like hating her. But then when she has that moment when she just stops crying, when he like gets in front of the the stairway, and she's like, gotcha. I'm like, okay, she can be on my team now. Like, she's a Strode. I love it. So I fucking love like redemption for Karen in that moment because it's such a badass moment. And then Laurie has her whole Happy Halloween Michael and just goes ape shit on him with the fucking like frying pan and shit. I love it. So good. So good.
I
And
love how
Michael
all
gets thrown
three
down
girls, you really can tell how much they care about each other.
there. Oh yeah.
They're all looking out for each other. You know, Allison and Karen. Karen, you know, going upstairs to get her daughter, and Laurie obviously protecting Karen at first, and then all three of them teaming up at the end. I thought it was really well done.
So good.
I feel like a lot of people have, well, maybe not a lot of people, but I've heard this a couple times, that Allison doesn't really get her big moment in the house, but I think
she does,
Allison's
though.
big moment was in the cop car. She kind of escapes Michael, so I think that was enough for her, and then she has the moment at the very end where she kind of takes the knife. So I thought it was balanced pretty well. I thought they all had their moments. And
I
yeah,
love
you
how
get
Allison
Laurie
goes from
kind of
like,
again kind of cheesy. You get Laurie in the shadows, kind of the
I like
lighting
that,
effect
though.
that we
I
get
don't
from
know.
the original.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, it's a hoorah moment. So this whole ending is
Exactly.
like a hoorah moment for Laurie
Yeah.
lovers. So yeah,
And that's why I go to these movies for. But I like how when Allison's originally brought into the basement, she's like, "Oh my God, we're in a cage." And then at the end, again, and I will disagree with people because Allison is arguably the reason why Karen gets out of that situation. Because she grabs a knife and she slices him twice to the point where
yeah,
Karen
she
can
is.
get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So, and then she, like, Karen does the badass, like, she literally, like, shuts the basement and, like, creates it. And she's like, "It's not a trap. It's not a cage. It's a fucking trap." I'm like, "Yes, bitch. Yes. I love that, like, back. And then she's the one. And then Laurie says, "Goodbye, Michael." I love the shot when she has the flare. It's so good. Yeah, I love them three together. I think it makes me, like, fall in love with Allison and Karen in this finale. So, yeah, I want to agree with people who say that. But, again, the theme, The Shape Burns, it also gives me chills. I love it so much, the ending scene. And then I like
It's so
when they
cool.
run out, you go back to the fire and you just see it's ablaze, but you don't see Michael again. That's, like, something that throws back to the OG you have to do. So, yeah, I think it's a very, very, very well-executed finale. Laurie's bleeding out, like, we're uncertain, but, like, Laurie, like, she was successful, but she also could be, like, slowly dying, like, we don't know. But her daughter and her granddaughter are alive, so that's what matters the most. It's a great, great, great ending, in my opinion.
One of the coldest shots of Michael is him looking up the stairs with the fire going, and
Just
when
staring
she
at her.
throws, yeah, just staring. It's so cold. It's oof. It still gives me chills when I think about it because he is so,
It's so good.
unfazed. It's like, yeah,
By
I'm
anything.
trapped for now, but I'm coming.
I'll see you later.
I'm breaking.
I'll see you
Yeah,
later.
I'll see you next movie. Yeah, it's
I'll
so
see you in
cool.
a couple hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. Your
Such a
daughter will be
cold-
dead
and
in a
then again,
couple hours.
that shot of the basement, and Michael's no longer at the bottom of the stairs. You
I
know,
love
he's
it.
somewhere else. We don't really quite know what's going on. Obviously, he's not dead, but you know, I thought that was pretty cool. It kind of got everyone talking about the end of the movie. Like, where's Michael?
Right, like where is he
what's
hiding?
going
Or
on?
what happened? Where'd he go? I thought it was a great finale to this. The resurrection of the franchise.
Yeah, for sure. And then you get the final shot of them.
And the
Laurie
truck.
bleeding out. You have Allison with the knife, holding the knife in her hand. I thought that was pretty poetic. And yeah, that's it.
She's
That's
finally
Halloween
ready to fight, yeah.
2018. There we go. Yeah,
Halloween.
great movie. Great movie. I like it a lot.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, that was fun. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we get into our moments and scores?
No, I just think people don't realize how crucial it is when you put care into what you're making and you care about making just something special and you have everything clicks with the direction, the acting, the score in a horror movie is always going to be important, especially in a Halloween movie. And they just it's hard to say this, but like so many Halloween movies can't get everything right. So it's special when one does. And I think that this movie got the important things right, even though I do have like slight issues like here and there.
Agreed.
But overall, it's like hard. I don't know why it's hard for them to get everything right. And like this movie and this trilogy, in my opinion, got like the important things right for the most part.
I agree. You could say what you want about certain movies in this trilogy, but the big ticket items that should have been consistent throughout the franchise and for some reason were not, we're back and we're done right. Like simple things like the mask. I mean, some of my favorite masks outside the original are in this trilogy, and the way that Michael is menacing again, Laurie, I mean, everything is just done right. The big ticket items, I will agree, are done really well. So, okay. Yeah, you mentioned that, love and care. I wish he kind of had that for the Exorcist movie, the new Exorcist.
Let's not talk
That's
about
kind
that.
of, you keep bringing that up, but it kind of really goes to show you, I think he really was a Halloween guy more than he was an Exorcist guy. And maybe the studios just gave him a fat check to make that movie. But
Boy,
I really want to see him do an original movie, like with a decent budget. I think he can do like an original concept. I don't want to see him do like another requel or another sequel to a franchise. Yeah.
And I will say, like, do think he gets overhated. Like, love or hate, like, the Halloween trilogy, like, he put care into each one, like, whether you have your issues or not. I think The Exorcist was a case of he had a successful, like, franchise trilogy, and they just gave him a check, like, go do this too. So I'm also happy that The Exorcist sounds like it's going to be put on the right track with Mike Flanagan, who was a clear, obvious choice for that franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into our Never Split Up scores. I won the poll for Salem's Lot 2024, so I will go first. This is a tough one for me. There's a few scattered throughout. A lot of these moments in this movie are kind of a little justified, you know? They kind of explained pretty well. But I think I'm gonna go with this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Ray, just because it's the most obvious one. I was going to go with, and you might go with Dave. I'm not going to go with Dave. I'm going to go with Ray, because he is directly connected to this whole story. It's the end of the movie. He knows that Michael is on the loose. He's missing his daughter, and he's just, I don't know. It's such a silly scene.
He's such a non-character.
He's such a dumbass leaving the house. I don't know how they let him leave the house. I don't even think it was really explained. I think they kind of just cut to him walking out the front door.
Yeah, I think Karen and Lori were upstairs while he was like downstairs, like just, like waiting around. Like he's like, "Oh, any news?" I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Like,
I know, like why do you need to check on the cops? Yeah,
especially when they're not calling you to come out. Like, what are you doing?
I also think there should have been a cop with them, but maybe Lori was like, "Get the fuck off my house."
100%.
Yeah, I got this.
Like, I got this.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Ray. I think that was a really
that was literally my
silly
never split up moment. So
yeah, sorry, dude.
But I'm gonna go. My second place one is not gonna be Dave. It's gonna be Oscar, because when you're in that backyard and you're like, "Oh, Mr. Elrod," and then the second time it appears and like that's a creepy dude in a mask. Like I don't care if it's Mr. Elrod or not. Like that's bad vibes. Like get the fuck up. Like start sprinting. He's like, "Oh," he like waves to him. He's like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Elrod." I'm like, dude. It's the guy staring at you in a mask, like, with a knife. What are you doing? So, mine's that Ostrich didn't get out of that backyard quick enough. He kind of just hung around and waited to be stabbed to start running. Again, another, like, classic. I love how we're getting back to classic never split up moments, so that's mine.
Yeah. I do wish that scene in particular was, with the lighting, was a little bit better. I think we saw too much of his mask, because I think they were supposed to kind of say that Oscar didn't see the mask that clearly, and it was very dark.
Yeah.
I wish they kind of made it a little darker and just kind of a silhouette for the audience as well. But yeah, that's such a classic moment. It's like, dude, what are you doing, man? Of course,
in general,
he couldn't get over the fence. You know, Allison hops the fence so easily, but he can't. He gets caught with his freaking cape or whatever.
Yeah, that's my moment.
No, that's a good moment. Okay. All right, let's get to our scores. I'm curious to see your score. I'll let you go first for this one.
Okay. Yeah, so we talked about everything, I wanted to talk about. Again, it's an awesome Halloween movie. A couple nitpicks here and there. Plays it a little safe, but I think that's not a full con. It's more of a pro, but it is a safe back to basics Halloween. It's not taking huge risks. But all around, it did what it needed for the franchise to be brought back to life. It brought it back to the feel of the original two movies. It just made it feel like your classic Halloween movie, Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. I love it so much, even with the slight issues I have. So, I mean, it's my 5th favorite Halloween movie, so I'm going to give it a 9.5. I mean, I love this. It's my 2nd favorite franchise, so I'm not going to go low. It's a 9.5. It's very rewatchable. Yeah, 9.5.
Very high, very high. I wasn't sure because now we're starting to get into the sequels, and we did our rankings, so it's going to be curious to see the sliding scale of, we started with the OG was 2 10s, but we'll see what the sliding scale is. So
now, where was
9.5. It doesn't leave that much room for 2 through 4. So yeah, that's high up there. That is high up there.
I mean, I've watched these movies nonstop. Where was the 2018 in your ranking? Do you remember? Was it 5 or 4?
I think it was 5 or 4. It
was right by me, so I think it was 4. I think you were 4.
I think it was 4. It was either H2O was 4 or this was 4, and H2O was 5.
I think you flip-flopped. You said you had H2O ahead, and then you flip-flopped.
I think I flip-flopped in the moment. Yeah, I always go back and forth because, it's two different lorries, and I always flip-flop which lorry I like, but I think this one gets the edge. And if I did have it at 5, I think I will bring it to 4, just kind of covering this episode, because it does do a lot of other things right. I mean,
all right, so we're right
in
that same vicinity.
We'll talk about the mask, but let's not get into the
we'll get there.
Mask. But yeah, everything you said, it's my favorite horror franchise. So while I do have little gripes with it, this is always going to be, all of these movies are going to be scaled higher than any other franchise just because it's Michael Myers and it's Halloween, and I just adore them so much, and I rewatch them every year, at least once a year. So I'm going to give this a very good score as well. I'm going to give this a 9.6, I guess. 9.6.
Right,
I was going to go 9.5, but I didn't want to copy you. So I'll go 9.6 just to be different.
All right, so you have 3. Oh, we already know 10. So you have oh god, I'm really curious about what your number 2, your score for your second favorite Halloween movie is. We'll get there.
Yes.
All right, cool. So we're
the
pretty
perfect
much
sequel now.
Oh god, don't start with me yet. All right, so we're pretty much simpatico on this movie.
If it didn't mean so much to me, it wouldn't be a 9.6. But because it's Michael Myers and Halloween, if this was a Friday movie or a Nightmare on Elm Street movie that did everything just as well, it would be a little bit lower. But because it's the grand return after 40 years from the original movie, and you kind of wipe away all the sequels, and they executed it with all the expectations. Just we nitpick it, but it's hard to do because what they achieved was so phenomenal. So I have to give it a high score.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Hell yeah, we're right on the same page with this movie.
Okay, yeah, that was a lot of fun. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe on YouTube and leave us a comment. Again, I talked about it in our Saw 2 episode, but for those of you that listen on Spotify and particularly Apple Podcasts, please give us a review and give us a rating. That really helps our algorithm on there and gets us more listeners. We're trying to grow our fan base. So thanks so much for listening, everyone. Let us know what you think about the new trilogy and particularly Halloween 2018. Look out for our Never Split Up poll. That'll be posted on our social media. You can find us at Never Split Up Pod. And that's about it. We'll see you for Halloween week. We have a double feature. We have our top 10 horror movies of the 2010s, followed by Trick or Treat. That's going to be a big week. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.